Hi, Rach.
Hi here.
I
I've
believe you
never,
missed a couple letters.
I was like, what is that? What's the nickname for you? I mean, there isn't really
Oh,
one.
that's true, right?
That's
So
why
I
I
said
said that.
Rach.
Hi,
Got it.
Rach.
That's hilarious.
He's not blonde. Took him a
No,
moment. Took it a
no.
moment. That's
I,
okay.
I
That's
have
okay.
been blonde in the past, though. And let me tell you, I don't know if I had more fun. I just had more frustration
You didn't have more fun, but you had more frustration.
because my roots kept growing out.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was like, I thought I was digging deep with that. I thought there was
Yeah, I
something,
know.
something
I know
else
it's
to
my
that.
no, I know it's my nature. But anyways,
Yeah.
how's it going?
How's it? It's going okay. It's going okay. It's spring is springing. It's starting to it's not quite spring yet. It's
Mhm.
March 8th. Happy International Women's Day, actually.
Happy International Women's Day.
And
Yes.
and that is actually, and I hope you are well too. I was going to ask you how you are, but first, before our lovely guest does pop on here, because it'll be like any second, I do care
Mhm.
how you are. How are you?
Oh, thank you. I'm great. I had this
I
whole
was
like punchline of us like like I'm so and so and I'm so and so, but it didn't start out that way. But I was kind of like gonna be like, you're gonna be like, I'm Rachel, and I'm like, and I'm unemployed. Welcome to Getting Juicy.
Oh, okay. And I would have been like, and my brain's going to explode from looking at spreadsheets all day. So we're like complete opposite. Un- Unemployed and very employed.
She needs a little bit of me. I need a little bit of her. I think that's kind of our dynamic usually,
Yeah,
more often than not as best friends. So
this is
no,
true.
but jokes aside, really not joking. But I'm okay, thanks. How are you?
Good. Good.
Good.
We already went through that.
That's two episodes in a row where it's been like Groundhog Day.
Oh Lord. But it was what I was trying to get at is the good segue from the International Women's Day into who our guest is, who
Mhm.
is this fierce, amazing woman that we're having on this show. And I believe a contact through Hero. So Hero, how do you know her? And if you would like
Mhm.
to introduce her, because she's
Yeah,
sort of your guest that you were wanting to bring on the show, which I'm
yeah.
happy about. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the premise, our guest, I know that we've been having people that have been more North American, kind of in the US or maybe in Toronto, that have been coming onto our show as of late, which has been fantastic. But I also want to make sure that throughout our recordings, we also highlight people that are in our local community, both in Vancouver, in Vernon, and in between. And so when I was thinking of really great people who are making things happen and in different industries, I wanted to connect with someone in our yoga, fitness, beauty, kind of Vancouver community, and that is by the name Daniela Dibb. And Daniela Dibb, I don't know Daniela personally very
Mm.
well. We've only met a couple of times, but Daniela, I first got introduced to because she was the senior teacher or senior instructor for Soul Cycle in Vancouver in Yaletown when they opened up for about a year and a bit
Yeah.
before they kind of pulled back their Canadian market and COVID hit and they kind of revised where they wanted to have their studios in North America and Europe, UK. But anyway, so I had heard of Daniela Dibb from a friend of mine, Liv Law, who taught at Soul Cycle as well. And so Daniela is not just a fitness teacher and businesswoman, but also a very well-known model and actor and
Dancer.
dancer.
Dancer,
And
huge dancer. She had
yeah,
did ballet for God. I was looking her up too. Sorry to interrupt,
no, please do.
but not only was Soul Cycle, I was reading, like, I think she was the one that opened the first Soul Cycle in Vancouver. She helped to open it.
She did. She
That
did
was
for
like,
sure.
that's pretty huge.
It is.
Yeah.
So she wears many hats and she also
Yeah.
started her own membership, fitness membership based platform for members only called DibFit, appropriately so. And so Daniela has been doing that. And I don't know much about it. I know that it's been doing very well. And she has a great clientele of committed DibFit members that are staying healthy and active through the programs that she's creating for her community. But I thought there are some people in our community or ways we might perceive people that there's obviously way more behind the person that they are. We're all about, again, at Getting
Yes.
Juicy, pulling the mask off of what we might maybe base off of someone by knowing them. Not at all, whether if it's in an image, if it's in a a couple conversations or even just on word of mouth. And so and I know Daniela is super intelligent, extremely creative, and has such a beautiful heart and soul. And I
Mhm.
could see that radiate from her the moment that I met her. And then when I reached out to her and said, hey, are you interested in coming on to the podcast? And I said, we haven't really come across our paths in over a year. She immediately said, oh my God, babe, of course. Like I would be so honored and thrilled to be part of this. And that just goes to show, always staying humble and being willing to connect and build community. And I'm curious to learn more about who she is because I really don't know her that well. I just have only come
That's
across her a little bit.
fantastic. And yeah, and just reading her bio, I mean, geez, she has really done quite a lot. And she was in New York, she was in Los Angeles, she's film, TV shows, ballet for God knows how long. She actually was at the Canadian National Ballet Company of Canada
Oh,
as quite young, and then I just have to reread this because I don't want to botch it, but uh various programs: Boston Ballet, Houston Ballet, Pacific Dance Arts and American Ballet Theater in New York City, Texas Ballet Theater, um and then an opportunity presented itself that she actually ended up in a small role in the sequel to Center Stage. I loved that movie. I don't know if did you ever see that, Center
no,
Stage?
I haven't heard of it. No.
Okay. Oh, it's such a great movie. It's a ballet dance movie. So
Fantastic.
anyway, so just like really just wow, honestly, what she's
Mhm.
done. And you know, very it's interesting how a lot of people who are in the realm of like dance or theater entertainment, they do tend to gravitate towards fitness as well, and then therefore either yoga or spin or those types of
Right.
style of dance or whatever it may be, and they've really partnered the two. Like we had Saskia wedding
Yeah. Yeah.
was be the
Saskia wedding.
same. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Very
a few
similar.
people very similar. But it sounds like what Daniela has done is she's just taken that, and that's what she like, that's full time now. So I don't even know if she's
Yeah.
doing too much in front of the camera currently. She's really busy with this business. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, as you make a good point though, because of the pandemic, it's also,
Yeah.
or as our most recent guest that just came out, Cynthia Kiss, this pandemic Lovato in their words, um, it's really kind of shaken us up, especially those of us that are in creative industries where,
Yeah.
I mean, unless if you're a photographer, maybe is one of the, saving graces if you're a photographer, perhaps, but otherwise, you really have to be close to people when you are in acting, when you are in dance, when you are maybe not when you're singing, unless if you sing with a whole ensemble. There are some little things that you can modify, but like when you're doing that type of stuff, and especially fitness, group classes, in
Hmm.
person settings,
Hmm.
COVID really has thrown a wrench in that, even though now it feels like it's not even there anymore and that it's basically gone, almost gone, not quite. So I'm wondering how, did that come from COVID? Was it a sidestep anyway? I don't remember when her platform was created. So,
I think it was throughout COVID. In fact, I'm almost 100% positive just reading about her. So,
mm,
yeah, I also wonder, well, and we'll talk to her in a second, whether now, it's not really post COVID, but people are getting back in person classes. Is that something that she's going to want to do? I mean, I know her platform is online right now,
mhm,
which is great. So, yeah,
mhm.
we'll see.
Well, for sure. And
This,
then Daniela was teaching, and I think she is still teaching at House Concepts, which is a newer studio
hmm,
business that opened up downtown, really close to where I live, actually.
okay.
So I think she is still offering certain classes and services in person. But yeah, I'm
Yeah,
curious to know. And
yeah,
she should be jumping on any second. I know that she asked to
absolutely.
kind of have our meeting a little bit later. So
Yeah,
hopefully
let's just shoot the shit, my
we will
friend.
shoot. We will
What
shoot our
what what
shit.
shit do you want to shoot right now?
Oh my God.
What
Well, I
shit do you
mean,
want to shoot?
uh,
Um actually, speaking of shit, this is not even this is the dumbest segue. This has nothing to do. What I'm about to say is nothing. Okay, and we don't need to shoot the shit anymore because Danielle's coming on. That I don't know what I was talking about. Anyway,
Hi,
Hi.
How's it going, guys?
Good.
How are you, Daniela?
Very lovely to see both of you. Thank you so much for having me on here.
Oh, you're
Thank
so
you
welcome.
for coming. I'm jealous that you're sitting on the floor, and I should be doing that because I've been sitting in this fucking chair all day working.
On the floor is the way to go.
Oh, my
God.
hips just need that. So yeah, very smart of you. And it's very nice to meet you too.
Yeah, it's so nice to meet you.
Yes, it was just, so we were just doing some little bit of kind of shooting the shit before you came on, as we do with all of our guests. And we kind of gave a bit of an intro about yourself and what you have been up to, what you've done. And it's funny, this has just kind of become an unintentional format. You don't know what we said about you, but yet we talked about you and all good things. So we always like to let our guests introduce themselves in case if one, we missed anything, or there might be some juice that's inside that might have not been squeezed to the public view.
Love that. So I am a fitness instructor. I was formerly with Soul Cycle. I used to teach in New York. Then I started teaching in Los Angeles, and then opened up the studio here. I am a former professional dancer, so that's what I spent my early life doing. I was dancing at, we went to school at Canada's National Ballet School. Then I danced at various ballet schools, joined the studio company of Texas Ballet Theater for transitioning to commercial style dance. That's what I did for my early 20s, was lived in the States and Toronto, and had opportunities to do music videos, commercials, television. I also was in a girl group, which was an awesome experience, very enlightening.
Wow.
Yes, that was my early 20s, the girl group. And then I started.
And I'm interrupting you. Is it with girl group as in singing, or was it dancing?
Yes.
Singing.
It was
okay.
Both. Yes,
wow.
Yes. It was awesome, super fun, a very amazing learning experience, because it was we made some really poor choices in terms of management, etc. So it was really a great pivotal learning opportunity. And then that's what transitioned me into moving to the States. And I was there for 6 years. I had an amazing chance to try a Soul Cycle class at the advice of my dance agent. And I was very resistant to it because I didn't think cardio was quote unquote my thing. And they said, well, just so you know, Daniela, if you do get the job, you get health benefits and insurance. And in the States, that's the big deal. And I said, what time's that class tomorrow? I will be there. So popped into that class, and I instantly loved it, and I realized it was so for me. I can't believe I was so resistant to trying it. I just assumed I wouldn't like it based on no valid information at all. Love at first ride, as they say. And it was a really lovely blend of everything I do in terms of bringing music together. I really consider my class dancing on the bike and using your body, but also being really motivating. That's so much more my ammo. I think the physical changes that come with workouts are lovely, like cherry on top, but it's so much more about the motivational side of things. And that's what I gravitated towards. So yes, I spent the time in New York, LA teaching, Vancouver studio. And then of course, COVID hit, and that really changed everything for us. And I'm grateful that I have been able to switch and kind of form my own entity of everything that I've done, combination of my background with dance, with yoga, with Pilates, with cycling, so HIIT training, and just fuse it together into my own workout.
Holy Toledo. Okay, that's a lot. And I'm like, where do I want to start? There's a lot there. Wow. I mean, first of all, it's a very inspiring and good for you to just see that opportunity coming out of the darkness of the pandemic. And, a lot of people we all had blows, to whatever we were doing, whatever it was. Right. And, there's some people were able to, that phrase now we're using, or that word pivot, we're able to pivot, right? That's like, I think that's like a pandemic word now.
It is.
Yeah.
Pivot. And kind of get on with life and do something newer, or really took a huge hard blow and are still dealing with it and weren't able to do that. So I think that's first, I just want to, commend you for that. So that's awesome. Going back though for a sec, because I was reading about your ballet experience, and just a interesting coincidence, sort of. My uncle is Reed Anderson, who used to be the national.
I know Reed Anderson. That's your uncle?
Yes.
Wow, that's a very small world.
Yeah.
Very,
So,
very cool.
I
and
did not know this connection before you
That's
came
a
well,
on.
big deal.
and see, and I didn't want to like, I wasn't sure how old you are. You don't have to age yourself. You don't have to say anything about that, but I wasn't sure, like, cause I know this was a long time ago that he was
Yes.
the director of the ballet company. And,
Yes.
you know, now he's been, he just retired and he's in his, well, a couple of years ago, and he's been in Stuttgart for a number of years at the ballet company there.
That's
So
incredible.
anyway, I just wanted to mention that. And, you know, I know how, just through him and just, oh my goodness, how difficult, and challenging it is to be a dancer, and something, and just along those lines, something I think that you said about, and correct me if I'm wrong, but just as a dancer through those times, and just how perhaps just aesthetically, or just how did that feel like for you, even body image? Like, was that kind of a thing that you were fighting against, or I don't know, I just kind of, I don't, maybe I took something wrong out of your about section of the website, but
not.
yeah, I don't even know what my question is.
No, I totally see where you're coming from. I'm very lucky. I've never, struggled with feeling not like inadequate in my body. I've never like struggled with eating or not feeling good in my skin. But the reason I was not accepted, and so every year you're at the national, you have to get re-accepted. And I was there for most of my high school years, and then I was not re-accepted into the last 2 years of the program. And it was because of my body. They said that I didn't have enough flexibility in my joints. So it wasn't because of weight, but it still was something about your body.
Yes.
And I'm really grateful that that never really shook me in the sense of made me think that, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. It kind of made me feel like I can't wait to prove you wrong. And although I obviously didn't end up as a professional dancer, many of my schoolmates are currently professional ballet dancers, and they are incredible and amazing. And I think they were always like guided towards that. I'm very grateful that that wasn't a deterrent. I used it as fuel and just applied it into different areas of my life. And there have been so many times where I've been in situations, as we all have, where something that you really, really wanted hasn't worked out. And it's very devastating at the time. It makes you feel all the sad feelings, and it truly can rock your world. And what I found is through most of those experiences, or I will go to so far as to say all of them, you're actually being redirected to something better. It's not just a full rejection, it's more of a redirection. And even if you can't see it in the moment, when you're hearing that no, when you're facing that block, it ultimately does become a beautiful opportunity to, she's gonna say it, pivot. But and it doesn't make it easier. Just as you guys said, I would in no way say that getting shut down with Soul Cycle and ultimately they're no longer opening, that wasn't a fantastic feeling. I was there for many years, and it definitely was a hard thing to accept. But I do truly believe in something that I always preach, which is it's not a no. It's an opportunity to begin again, a little wiser this time. It's an opportunity to set yourself up for something greater. It's just a detour in your life. It'd be like if you're driving, someone said, please come and meet me at this location. Something awesome's happening. We're having a big party, and you were driving down the street and there was a roadblock or a detour. You wouldn't just give up, turn around and go home. You'd be like, it's annoying. Like now I have to like go up this street, go this street, take a side street. Wasn't expecting that, but doesn't mean you won't end up at your same destination. So that's hopefully what we can take from all the COVID stuff. And it's not to underestimate or undermine all of the intense struggles many businesses and individuals have gone through. And I'm very sad to see so many people have been so tremendously affected by it. It's really unfortunate.
Well, thank you for sharing that, and there's a lot of things you touched on there that I really want to dive into. And one of those things, as you mentioned, is that, this industry that we're in, regardless of the modality, the method that we choose to practice movement or breath or awareness or all of it, yoga included, I am one of those people that was deeply affected that actually have now retired from teaching. And I was teaching full time before COVID, and it was my third time, and I was like, okay, this is it. And then COVID hit. I'm like, tried to teach the pandemic, and only about a couple months ago did I choose to say, you know what, the industry and the community is not at a place right now where I feel like I can align with it or be where it makes sense for me as a teacher and what I wish to share. And it's a great opportunity for teachers and trainers and coaches who are in a place to serve and offer to people what it is that they need, which does not align with what I can offer. What I'm getting to about that is that you are someone that has the tenacity and the ambition to say, I'm going to take this as an opportunity, use the resources I have, or seek to other resources that are around me to create a platform to help continue expanding your community. And that's something that you've done, right? And so I'm curious to learn a little bit more in present day. We'll go back on a journey in a little bit, but what you do for sure right now is you are your own creator of your own platform, your own service, your own membership service, and doing that and creating experiences for folks to actually connect with their body and to feel that empowerment, to feel that coaching that you hit on. And so how did that come about as far as what inspired it, and how has it been a development through today?
Such a great question. It happened, I believe, I want to say it was like March 16th or something 2 years ago. It was one of those days. It was on a Sunday that they said, everything's closed. You can't go. I might be slightly off of my dates, but I think it's something like that. And the next day I woke up and I was like, so I can't go anywhere. This is like, what? None of us can go anywhere. And I just threw up at that time, just threw up a post on Instagram. And I said, I'm going to be teaching tomorrow at noon. I'm going to jump on IGTV live. And if you can join me, feel free to. And I did that every day, 7 days a week for 3 months straight. It was free. It was just people were generously donating if they were doing it a lot and just kind of keeping that afloat. But it was really just anyone can tune in. And I would, at that time, because everyone was locked down, height of COVID, I would have hundreds of people joining in the workouts, and it just became the 12 o'clock noon thing. And that inspired me. And really, some of it was selfish. It was like, I don't know what I would do if I'm not moving right now. My body is so used to it. I'm so structured to it. I'm so reliant on movement in order to just feel sane. I think I would have really struggled. We all struggled, not pretending I didn't. I think it would have been more intense had I not at least had that movement opportunity. So when I started realizing that I was still providing excellent value, even online, it's something I'd never tried before. I've always been an in-person, and that's still my true passion. So, I absolutely love my in-person, but I realized that it was really exciting that I could also do online, and I learned about that. And that did cause me to say, I'm going to start my own membership, and created, like you said, a online community. And so my goal for 2022 is to get back to both. I will never stop feeling that passion for online. And what's really cool about online is you are not reliant on someone else's schedule. If it doesn't work for you to be there at 12 or 1 or 7 in the morning or 6:30 at night, you do it on your own schedule. Busy moms, busy entrepreneurs, students, or just like you're hungover on a Sunday and you don't want to go to that 9:30 class. So you're going to pop in at 11:45. It's very cool to have the option of when you do it. The advantage, of course, to an in-person class, one, energy is unmatched. You will never beat the energy of an in-person class ever. And two, there is that accountability. If you popped $30 into a class, you're most likely going to show up. You're most likely going to be like, that was expensive. I'm going to go. At least I'd feel that way. If I paid for a class, I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to be there.
And so and also not only that, but just the social aspect.
Yes.
I mean, holy crap, are we missing that, right? I mean, that's something, and I think that because we've been so used to even doing what we're doing right now virtually, and it's still happening, that I'm speaking for myself. It's been really difficult for me to want to get back and do those types of things, group classes or group functions or group, anything to do with groups. But we need it as social creatures and animals. So so I hope, is that something that are you currently teaching in-person classes right now?
Just doing occasional pop-ups, and I have a couple planned for this month, which I'm excited about. I definitely will be getting back into in-person classes, and you can stay tuned for that. It will be happening this year. There will be some changes happening. Yes. So I'm excited.
That's fantastic.
So again, in terms of your platform and it's called DibFit, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, fantastic, accomplishment with that, because there is such a market and such a concentration on people that are, trying to make online platforms even prior to COVID. And then also, I mean, me and Rachel as podcasters, there's a lot of podcasts that have come up as well, but I find there's people that will start platforms or engines, let's say, whatever the engine might be, and it might dwindle or fade because it's like, okay, now things are opening up again, the priorities are different. And so what I'm getting at is that I commend you for saying, no, this is equally as important, and it's something that I care about, and the impacts it's made on the community that has been fostered through it, but also remembering what's important to you as well as being in person, connecting with community.
Yeah.
So where did that passion for building community come from? Like, if you took us back to when you were growing up, like, I mean, you've always been this way, that's our purity, but did you always identify and recognize the person you are today when you were a child? Like, was that always innate within you?
I've always wanted to perform, so that's like a given. I think I came out probably with like spirit fingers. I love being in front of people. It's like, just gets me going. The more people, the better. I definitely have learned a huge amount about myself, as we all do. There's been a big shift from my 20s to 30s. And I think that if you don't have that, you're probably doing the wrong thing, because you're supposed to be evolving and changing. But I would say who I am at my core has always been the same. I've always really valued, as you're using the word community, I might have used a different word at that time. It absolutely, and that's what drew me to Soul Cycle in the first place, was that feeling of involvement. You do get that feeling too when you're a dancer and you're in a company, or you're dancing in a group, you're dancing in the corps de ballet. You are a part of something which we can say is bigger. You're creating magic and moving together. And that's particularly when you're cycling, you're moving, or at least in the Soul Cycle style, you're moving together. That's the goal. You're moving as a team, as a community. And after class, before class, you're really getting to know people. I would often say, hype up your neighbor, encourage your neighbors. I made some of my lifelong friends from that room. And I've made some of my lifelong friends now from my online platform. So it is essential to find something or someone that brings that out of you, because if you don't have that, you are going to feel lost. It doesn't need to be through fitness. There's many people that find either reading groups or, it could be a yoga class, it could, etc. But it is really important. And I believe that the true importance of that was revealed when we weren't allowed to do it for those months in 2020. If there was any question in our minds of how important and essential movement and community was, that was truly revealed during that time. So with that, it's made it even more important to me. It's really reminded me, it keeps me grounded, keeps me rooted, keeps me coming back to it. And it makes me feeling very passionate about that.
So, okay. Are you from Vancouver? I'm taking a different direction. You are from Vancouver. Okay.
I'm from Vancouver. Yeah.
And what kind of, was it an influence with your parents to get into dance and into being, a performer? Was it something that, was more like, hey, mom and dad, I really want to do this, and they were like, oh, okay, well, we don't know anything about dance, but we'll find out for you and put you in some classes? Like, how did it come about?
They put me in gymnastics at first, and I was so bad at it. But I was terrible. They were like, wow, and I was like, wow, I really suck at this. But I was very good at the floor routine in between. And so it's very natural for the two to align, because you're dancing essentially in between the stuff that I couldn't do. So they put me into dance, and I loved it immediately. And there was a book about a little girl that goes to boarding school. It was the National Ballet School. I read it, and I said to my mom, I really want to go do this. And I was 11. So I went and auditioned, and I got into the summer program. And there's no guarantee you'll get into the year program when you do those. It's just an audition. There's few schools that do that, a couple in Canada, and then quite a few in the States and around the world. And I got accepted into the year program, and it was a no-brainer for me. That I wanted to do that. And I loved it. I never got homesick. I was just ready to be that, dancing, and I had so many fantastic friends who are still my friends to this day. Many of them actually train with me now, which is really cool. I get to watch them do their gorgeous ballet, and they'll work on their abs with me and continue to stay strong with that. So it's really cool. So that's how I got involved with dance. And I had a feeling that ballet wasn't necessarily for me, but I always loved movement. And so that transitioned me into the commercial style of dance and a girl group, and then moving to the States, which is where I then found fitness.
Right. So adding on to that, when you say that it's what got you into the States and stuff, kind of walk us through that experience. Like, you're back in that part of your life, you are in your passion, you're in your element, you're like, I am fucking doing this. Like, what were those transitions like for you? Because if you think about it, you would have been in pivotal years of your life. I think every year of your life has been a pivotal, to clarify, but you're in those developmental years, right? From going to like early teenage to mid-teen to young adult, developmentally, psychologically, what was it like? Because you said you love to perform. So did it feel stressful? Did it feel anxiety provoking? Was there any mental health things that came up? Or was this like, I'm living my life, I know this is my fantasy and I'm making it a reality? Like, where were you in that process?
Oh, there were so many moments that were so incredibly hard. I mean, if you're a dancer and you're auditioning, you are words no a lot more than yes. So every, job that I booked, there's probably 15 jobs behind it that I didn't. And so, you get to see the wins and celebrate the wins, but there was tons of really like close calls, tough moments. I filmed a pilot before I thought would go through, it didn't go through. So that's very common. It's not, it's very common. So I don't want to use the word anxiety driven, but there was definitely a lot of incredibly, and continues to be a lot of really tough moments. I got my O1 visa, and that's how I was able to move to the States, which means that you are on a performer's visa. You have to get them renewed. So I got 2 of them, and it's a pretty intense process. They want to see a lot of proof, and you need a agent down there, and you need to be booking a lot of work. It is necessary. Well, you can't get when I say a regular job, I just mean a job outside of your field. I couldn't just be like, oh, I'm dancing, but like, in order to subsidize for a bit, I might go do that. It's like, that's all you're allowed to do. Totally. So you need to book those jobs. And I was in my very early 20s, and it was, I was living in a very expensive city of New York. And you just have to hustle. That's the word I'll use. I was doing all the dance gigs. I was doing all the things. And then I was really lucky that after about 4 years of that, that's when Soul came in, and Soul is also a performance-based, as you know, performance-based class. So that continued. And we knew I was going to come back and open the Vancouver studio. So I was very lucky in those transitions.
Can you explain to those people that, because I've never been to a Soul Cycle class.
Sure.
What is Soul Cycle? Like, I actually don't even know. I've never been. So explain.
Absolutely. So what's really cool about a recycling class, and there's many that do this, there's some that move and they're more based on metrics and based on output. So you can kind of scan what you're doing that way, and you're really focusing on, calories burned, etc. And it's really like strong, powerful. A lot of people do it to train for riding in real life, or that's just their goal. What makes sort of riding to the rhythm of music quite different, there's no metrics that you're following. There's no sort of scale that you can see. It's a lot more about feeling, and the goal is to move to the rhythm of the music with the class together. And my class is extremely dancey, which means there's a lot of choreography on the bike. Cool. And people that used to come to my class a lot would really know the choreography as though it was a dance performance. It got to the point where it would be like everyone was dancing together. And then to layer on top of that, you have the motivational speaking, which is where I really felt the most connected to my classes. It was, and as I always will say, it's not about the bike. It's about empowering yourself to feel very strong, very disciplined, very connected, and motivated to show up and do your best. If you're doing the best in a class like that, you're most likely going to show up and do your best outside of class. It's you kind of training your body and your mind to see the good in a situation, training your body and your mind to feel inspired, powerful, and strong. So that is what I would say is the biggest takeaway of an indoor cycling class, particularly in my opinion, ones that move to the rhythm of the music. There's value in both. But that's what made ours a little different.
I love that. And you said the words motivational speaker.
Yes.
And I was just going to ask you, like, you must be a motivational speaker. I get the sense, I get the vibe from you of that. Do you do motivational speaking as well?
I do. I would consider every one of my workouts to be equally important as the workout, what I'm saying. The two just don't exist without the other. It's
Absolutely.
it's not one or the other. So that's where my real underlying motivation for myself to show up comes from, because I think if I was just like, we're riding a bike again in a dark room going nowhere, I would feel, after years of doing that, that would get, I don't want to say boring, but it gets repetitive, redundant. It never felt repetitive or redundant because it wasn't coming from that place. And likewise with workouts, there are only so many ways to squat. There's only so many ab moves in the world. There's only so many this, but it's about progressing. It's not about seeing the end game. And the cool thing is you can always pick up heavier weights. You can always get a heavier resistance band. You can always add more resistance to the wheel. And that's your choice, your power, your strength. And it isn't about the instructor yelling at you in a boot camp style saying you must do this. It's you being like, you know what? I'm going to add 3 more turns underneath my feet. I'm going to see how that feels for me today. Oh my gosh, it's all of a sudden harder. You've just taken it to the next level. How can you ever get bored when you're actually strengthening yourself like that? Otherwise, yes,
true.
You'd be like, how are you just pedaling all day, every day? But it isn't. There's so much more to it. Just like there's so much more to life, so much more to relationships, to our careers, to our jobs. Like, that's what keeps it interesting. That's what keeps us feeling excited. And if we're not, then we find new avenues, new ways. And there's never anything wrong with wanting to take the next step in your life, or kind of feeling like you've outgrown a version of your life that you've built, that you have that amazing foundation. So let's build new stuff on top of it. You have more skills, more knowledge, more energy, more excitement, more, all of those good things.
Daniela,
that is so well said.
Who has motivated you?
Oh, so many people.
Speaking of motivation, it's just, I love hearing you talk, and you've got so much, just your energy is so beautiful and bright. Where did you get that from? Who motivated you? Who's inspired you to become who you are?
I've had many people be very inspiring. Of course, you could take it all the way back to dance days, where at the time I was at the National was James Kadelka. That was at the National. And I always remember just being really inspired by him and Karen Kane, and just seeing how they were leaders. And then as that transition, I've had so many really cool opportunities to watch a lot of incredible choreographers do their work and be leaders. And then now in the fitness industry, there's so many. I would say I'm inspired by every single person I take class with. Like, I'm like, you're amazing. You're doing something so cool and fantastic. And I love learning from absolutely everyone. So when I was in SoulCycle training, I took a lot of people's classes, found value in absolutely all of them. The ones that taught us there were so great. And now moving forward, it just comes from, I'm inspired by everyone I have the opportunity to learn from, which in my mind should be everybody.
Yeah. Well, again, that's well said, because it's all about being a student and being receptive to learning, while also remembering the things that's been passed to you along the way. So that way there's a equal feedback loop, I would say, of giving and receiving, humility, but also with experience. Because I think we get trapped in some ways of being like, I'm not worthy, or I don't have enough, or what I have doesn't matter. Or the other side of it's like, I know what I'm doing and I don't need to take others' insights or experiences. You have to find a balance of being willing to learn, but also knowing your awareness, knowing your experience, and knowing the power that your voice has to transmute those experiences. So whether you've done that through dance, you've done that through fitness, you've done that through spin, you've done that through yoga, you've done that through even being on our show for the time so far, I think there's a lot of importance in that too. Plus, being someone that is also a fellow Vancouverite, such as yourself, I think it's important to amplify that there are people that come from a city like Vancouver that are so powerful, that are doing things, and that don't necessarily might appear on the outside as the way they do on the inside. You know, like, you are intelligent, you're beautiful, you're well spoken,
Aw,
you have a
thank you.
business acumen that is clearly very, very special. And so I'm curious to know about, where did some of those skills come from? Like, were those things instilled in you from growing up with your parents, growing up with family members that kind of instilled those values and ethics within you? They all come from somewhere, but sometimes it's not from family. Sometimes it's just based on this drive and you learn as you go. I'm guessing it's a combination of both, perhaps.
Yeah, I would definitely say that my dad runs, he didn't when I was growing up, but now for the last, I want to say like 10, maybe 12 years, he's been running a business that's called Vancouver Balloons. It's a balloon shop on Main Street. He does all
Oh,
the big balloons.
cool.
Yeah, like he
Cute.
does
I
like,
love it.
yeah, he does
Yeah.
really like big stuff. Like he does like the Vancouver Sun Run when we
Wow.
had them. He did the big arches. He's done a ton of concerts. Travis Scott, Miley Cyrus. He does lots of
Wow.
play sets. But the cool thing is that he's started a business and he found a really cool niche for it, and really is one of the most hardworking, passionate, and amazing humans that I know. So much to learn from him. My mom is a nurse, and so go nurses, especially during this pandemic, because she never stopped working. And so I know she's amazing. And then I did have a lot of really awesome opportunities growing up in the dance world, as you would know, that in terms of the people that you were kind of surrounded with. I would do shows with the company. They had like the Nutcracker that we got to be a part of, then a bunch of other productions. We were kids, so they were kids roles, but they were really awesome opportunities to watch very incredible, hardworking, dedicated, and committed people work.
Totally.
And when you go to those summer schools, I went to Boston Ballet, Houston Ballet, and American Ballet Theater. There's no messing around with those teachers. You are really, like, discipline is number one. Being receptive to criticism and feedback without sort of taking it, learning to not take it to heart, just learning that they're actually probably trying to help you, and they see that there's more potential in you. So that taught me how to be open to constructive criticism. In terms of business, I have just been figuring it out as I go. My husband is very nice because he's in the financial planning world, and he works with incorporated individuals and small businesses. So he was able to really help guide me with those first steps in terms of get incorporated. What do you do about taxes? Like, there's just so many logistics that I was like, I didn't know, but I'm willing to listen and learn. So and I also believe
so important.
You shouldn't try to do anything that you're not good at yourself. Like, I'm not a one-woman show, and the bigger I hope to get, and where I foresee what I'm doing right now going, I think the best thing I can do is hire people that are excellent at what they do, so I don't have to try to be subpar at it. I just do what I do well. So it's like, if I could say one piece of business advice that you had asked, it's hire the people who actually know what they're doing, and let them do it, and let them do it well, so that you can focus on what you do well. And that's what I am doing.
Oh my God, that is right. Phenomenal advice, because I'm just thinking to myself, God, I wish I had that advice when I had actually a very small yoga studio. I owned a yoga studio in North Vancouver for a couple of years, but yeah, man, I did it all. And I tried, I was a bit stubborn also, because, you think about, well, okay, that's going to cost me money, but but if you don't, fork out that bit of money, you could actually be hurting yourself in the long run. Absolutely. Financially. Like, it's, so there's a real, anyway, so that's very smart.
Yeah. It's even when it comes to like social media or whatnot, like, I know we think we can do it all, but there are people that are better at it because that's what they do full time. There are accountants. There's just people that actually are so much more qualified than I am in those areas, and I just choose to let them rock those expertise so that I can just focus on the things that I'm good at.
Yeah, that's actually a great segue. So when you're talking about building a brand, building a platform, having the not in a negative way, but it is the facade of what you want someone to be, what you want people to perceive your message to be like until they
Totally.
experience it in real life or in person, if it's virtual. What are some things that you have learned along the way by maybe doing it yourself? And then also, what are some tips and tricks that you've learned about building a brand, a platform in digital social media, especially in a landscape, let's say, where there is a lot of noise, there is a
Yes.
lot of algorithms, let's say. Yeah,
I was
but
gonna say competition, but
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but there's that too. That even if, for example, like our podcast is very unique and very much us. So we don't have to worry about standing out in that respect. Your voice is very unique and very dynamic and unique in itself. You don't have to worry about yourself in that respect. But where's the intersection of one's authentic voice, I guess, or one's delivery of their voice matched with the visibility of that voice being seen? Like, what are some of the things you've learned by trial and error that might be of use to your listeners and your viewers?
That's a great question. I think that one of the most important things that you can do is to actually answer people. Sometimes it gets missed. When people are willing to comment on your posts or they're willing to DM you, do your very best to answer them, because that's a big aspect of community building, is actually engaging. And sometimes it does take a while. So now I actually schedule it into my day. I usually block off a full hour in which I go through every message, every DM. And sometimes, of course, things will occasionally get missed, but for the most part, I reply to every comment that's posted under my photos or videos, because it's important. And so that if I could just leave with one sort of like takeaway, it's don't just let people say something nice to you and then you don't acknowledge it. Acknowledge it, say thank you, or like at least give it at least give it a little heart, because that's like, it's you saying thank you. It'd be so weird. Imagine you just went up to compliment someone, or like after I teach my workouts, I always say like comment when you're done it, because it would be like taking a class and then just walking out without saying thank you.
Totally.
You'd be like, hi, I just like spilled my heart and energy out, and you're not even going to acknowledge that. So I've tried to like really instill like, this is important. This is what makes it feel like a community, as opposed to just so I hope that people are seeing that I'm a real person. I'm not just as you said, and that's the aspect of comes with social media. You do just see either a pretty picture or video, it's a facade. So even just that small connection, answering someone's jokes, acknowledging them. I'd say if I could leave one piece of advice, it's acknowledge that people are taking the time to comment to you, type to you, send you something, anything. So reply.
I like that. That is good advice. Very good advice. How did you kind of, like, was it quite an overnight success for you, so to speak, with your platform? Because it kind of sounds like you came into it at the perfect time.
Yeah.
And not to say that it wasn't, I'm not trying to undermine how it probably wasn't easy, but I guess my question is, was it kind of a quick, build up of followership and people that were willing to take your classes, or was it a little bit of a slog? Like how did that kind of happen in the beginning stages?
Well, just as you said, it was really good timing, and that no one could, of course. So you are facing a lot of competition. Everyone was going online and teaching classes, but I use the word competition very like lightly, as in it in no way does that bother me. I think it's fantastic that you find someone that you like. Like, that's why there are so many different instructors. That's why everyone does have something different that they do. And I've had people try my class and say like, that class changed my life. Like I'm a different person because I've had people try my class and be like, may I have my money back? Like, what the hell were you doing up there, girlfriend? I hated that. Like, so you're going to have people that love what you do, people that probably hate what you do, and you have to just let them go and find who it is that they align with. And also, people are going to align with lots of different people. Like, I love many people's classes. Like, it would be bizarre if there was only one person that you're like, this is the only person that can do it for me. Like, of course not. Like, there's so many skilled, talented people that we can all learn from. So in terms of like success with it, it's all been like a long, slow growth of starting to teach in New York, followed by LA, followed by Vancouver. it's class after class, connection after connection, personal connection after personal connection. So now it's led to something where I have much more of a community, but I still have to work at it every day. I talk to people every single day. I know that the next step of my life is going to require that much attention to detail as well. So yeah, willing to do that because I do really enjoy it. And I do think it's very important.
Well said. You know, and I'm going to take it back for a second in some of the things you've mentioned, and I'm saying this more as an anecdotal thing because I think others will relate to it. You know, as a teacher myself, and I still consider myself a teacher regardless of the format. As you said, like I believe in public speaking. I believe in inspiring, being a mentor and a coach for people, and in those elements, and using the aspects of past experiences from past careers, past passions, and knowing that those skills are transferable and you can reinvent them, so to speak, kind of like a phoenix. You can rise from those ashes of a past life. You also mentioned going from being in 20s to 30s. You know, I just turned 30, but I was teaching.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. The adult life is real. But anyways, so, you know, so, but like, and Rachel's like, oh, don't even go there.
You're such a young little chickling. Anyway.
It's just the ring lighting. Anyways, so, so, you know, when I started going into health and wellness and stuff, let's say yoga, for example, you know, I was about 18, you know, so I started practicing pretty young. And then I found my way into teaching when I was 20. Did my teaching, went through those processes, burned a ton of bridges, repaired most of them, or the ones that at least I wanted to repair, and the ones that I didn't were not meant to be repaired. Sorry, it's true. And, you know, through the years, a lot of people, there were a lot of haters. There were a lot of people that did not like what I did, that did not connect with things I said, or to approaches that I did, because they were very much, to me, what made sense to me. They were not traditional. They were tradition. Maybe they were too traditional to some people as well. So when you think about people who are just living, I hate that, you know, living your truth, but it gets the point across, who are doing something so authentic in themselves, they may not feel connected to building a brand online, let's say, where they can have full control over their content, their delivery, and so forth. Maybe they want to teach in studios, but studios are saying, no, you're not the right fit. Or they're just saying, worst part is they're saying no, and they're not offering any closure or development or feedback. For the teachers out today, this is where I'm coming back to the teachers today who are new, who are maybe very experienced in other aspects prior to them going into a space to teach. Maybe the landscape and community is different in Vancouver and I'm just not aware of it. Maybe in other cities, it's different, of course, as well. What would you say to those people in terms of those that are really different, that are very self-expressive, that are not very corporate minded, perhaps? They don't kind of stay in the box and they speak their mind, they do their own thing, and they actually have a community and a following that would amplify what that realness of teaching is like in whatever format. What are your perspectives on that from your vantage point, and maybe other people that you've come across that are maybe trying to find that niche that they fit into and that want to do it in person, under a business, under a space where maybe people expect certain things? Because I'm telling you, I don't know how I lasted almost 10 years because, girl, it burned me the fuck out, and I got out the moment that I just couldn't keep it up anymore. And so I'm asking it from my perspective, but I'm asking it from an unbiased perspective, from someone that sees it completely differently and that is actively in it right now. Because it's a fucking trek.
Amen to that. Because I had the same experience, sort of. Anyway, yeah, good question.
So just to clarify, you're saying someone that has a unique voice, has a following, but currently wants to get in and work for a company that might be a bit more structured. How could they transition into that? Yes. Okay. So my best advice when it would come to that would be find a company that aligns with that with you. Like that's, I think, the best place to start. If you know this about you, that you are really free-spirited, that the way that, you know, maybe you like to swear in class, or maybe like your music's really different, it's not mainstream, or maybe your approach is super different. There are studios, classes online. There is even The Class, which is an amazing, now they have a huge online presence that started in New York. There are so many different formats. Of course, Vancouver is smaller, but there's always going to be someone or something that's going to work with you. If you try to create yourself so that you're following something that doesn't match up with you, you are most likely going to resent it. When I entered Soul Cycle, it really lined up with me, the way that I like to teach, and of course helped cultivate the way I teach. I will always say that I'm very grateful for that room and the platform that it gave me, but it did not hold me back from getting to be the strongest, best version of how I instruct. And I kept it within the confines of what the class structure was, but in no way did I feel that it was hindering my ability to grow and thrive. So you must find a place that allows you to do that. And it's okay if it takes a little bit of time. Of course, we all would like to think that we just walk into the first place that we go and it happens to be perfect. And anytime you're dealing with people, you're always going to run into conflict. That's just natural. There's very few people that can just, of course, you can be someone that gets along with everyone, and we all aspire to that. And I think that that's doable. But there's no way that every single person you're going to encounter, particularly at a corporation, you're going to agree with, or even particularly like. And that's also okay. You just have to decide if that is working for you. And if it is, amazing, you found a good match. If not, why wouldn't you go and try to find something that doesn't make you feel like shit? Because no one wants to go to work feeling like shit. And if you do have a really big following, as was mentioned, and you kind of able to do that on your own, then I would encourage you to go and try to do that on your own. And even if you need something to subsidize you, I've had 1,000 jobs that have subsidized my dreams, many and particularly, and also say in my early 20s, I was working multiple jobs, and I think that there's absolute pride in that, because you're saying I'm doing this while I am creating that. So maybe it's if you have a following and it's your own thing, your own business, maybe you rent out the space on the weekends and you run your own classes and figure out a way of receiving payment from people. And during the week, you're doing another job until you can build it up to the point where you can just work for yourself. Or you find a company whose values align with you. Nothing will ever be perfect, but no relationship is perfect. Working for a company is like entering a relationship. You're going to butt heads sometimes. You're going to disagree. You're not always going to be in alignment, but if you're still in love with each other and you respect each other and there's mutual respect, then it can work.
Do you know what I think kind of got difficult, and for me and probably Hero too, is when you become a yoga teacher, more specifically with yoga, and how yoga is very much rooted in non-judgmental and all these different pillars of things that really, when you then partner yoga with business, they really butt heads, because as soon as you step into a studio and you've got, there's going to be judgment, there's going to be competition, there's going to be auditions for a freaking like that. That doesn't really line up with what yoga is. And I think that I'm just putting words in Hero's mouth, perhaps. And I feel like maybe that's kind of where over the years it just got super frustrating, because it's like, okay, well, I was, taught all these amazing rooted pillars in not harming and non-judgmental and stuff like that. But yet, as soon as you step into a business world and become a teacher and get paid to do it, it's a business, right? And so you do come against that kind of conflict, I think, perhaps.
Oh, for sure. I'm sure there's very few, but that, unfortunately, when I say unfortunately, I just mean like, for the most part, that is going to be life. Like you are
totally,
like
totally. And that's where like, and I did kind of get over that, and I think that there is, because I know of, a number of yoga teachers that really did struggle with that. And then unfortunately didn't get classes, right? And then didn't get paid, and then couldn't put food on the table. And it's just like goes on and on and on. So you really, you hit the nail on the head about it's life, and you're still going to come into contact. It's still a business. So.
Yeah. But also to add to Rachel's point, I'm not concerned to say, that there are lots of elements of my personality or teaching style that might not connect to the general public, which is it's not a bad thing. but but I'm very outspoken and candid and free, which is what a podcast is perfect for, because it's you're the host of the show. If people don't want to connect, they don't have to connect. I mean, please connect. We need you. But you know what I mean? Like there's that feeling of you're not going into a space with the attachment of you're representing the space as well as yourself and the entity of those that are paying, let's say $25 a class multiplied by per head and all the other business metrics that put the pressure on you to provide a service, where you're paid basically 1 or 2% of what everyone else is bringing in, which it sounds like a lot, but really it's not. My point being for that anecdote is that I've been judged for my age being too young. I've been judged for being too gay, which I'm really not that gay compared to some other people that can present much more flamboyantly. I've been judged for being too fat. I've been judged for not looking a certain part or fitting a demographic or an image that doesn't resonate with a brand because they can't box you or, have that kind of stereotype. Did it defeat me? No, not at all. But what I find really frustrating, to further Rachel's point, is that in an industry like yoga, which is a business, and yoga happens to be the product that has been capitalized into being a business, it is unfortunate, though, that you come in from a place of wholeheartedness and being really tender and from yourself and providing that healing for people. And then for people to rip into and say, sorry, you're not marketable. That's too deep. That's not surface enough, or you're not challenging enough as a physical teacher. So you're too yin for us. You're too restorative for us. Or you don't do enough of this kind of chaturanga or push up or whatever they might be looking for the flair. It's a performance act, right? So coming back to that, the term facade, it's I can understand, and not that they should be different, but I do understand the business of fitness. I do understand that because that is always changing. That is always developing. There is always things that can be inserted or be trendy, but yoga is not a trend. There are things that might be more popular. There might be things that appeal to more people, but at what point will the community finally say, fuck that? We're going to go to the root of where things come from and consider this, that, and it has a place where it can be profitable. And we're going to really make the division of yoga and fitness, or fitness and whatever else that's not fitness, because yoga can be a physical experience. It is part of those limbs. But for people to commoditize it as I only do hot or Bikram or power or Ashtanga, and that's all I do, and if you don't do that, you're not valid. Do you realize how much of a psychological warfare that's being created for people to feel like those jobs are being taken away from those teachers that actually are living and breathing a philosophy, a lifestyle, and publicly speaking in a way that could be really motivational, the same way someone like yourself or anybody else in a more fitness facing environment, perhaps like a boot camp coach or a spin class, would be getting that same experience. So I find that really something that I would love to see shift. I'm not saying I want to do that, but I would love to see that shift.
I hate to be the poo-pooer, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think that the days of the mom and pop or grassroots kind of studio is kind of done. Also it's just affordability too. Let's just be honest. I mean, with brick and mortar style studios, I mean, and with COVID and all that kind of stuff, it's expensive. So
Vancouver's out of control expensive. There's a lot of, it's just out of control. There's no other word. Right? It's out of control. So I really feel what you guys are saying, and it's such a shame that it can't just be more of that authentic energy and under a corporation. But at the same time, it sounds like you're very passionate about what you would have to offer, and I wonder if that could be fulfilled in another way, such as running by donation classes where people are not obligated to spend $25 on your class. Maybe you rent out a space, you cut a deal with the owner, you say, I'll do it on an off time. And you say, whatever you can afford and aligns with you, you come in and give, then you still get to give. Those people genuinely want to be there. There's no one hounding you to fill the room or to hit metrics, or all the things that you're saying take you away from the amazing experience that you're excited to offer. So I just wonder if, and it's amazing. It sounds like you're very fulfilled with now running your own podcast. And the thing is, that's so cool about that is you are your own boss. There's no one that is, sitting behind you or chirping you in your ear, going to get, make you feel bad about it.
No, I am.
But I just wonder, maybe something to think about is maybe it's that you get to start your own thing where there is we take away all the pressure of a certain amount pricing, or even like that the room will be hot or will be using all these intense poses. Maybe you say, I am teaching a by donation restorative class. Sounds like that's what you align with, at 1:00 at the park even. And whoever can come can come. I just thought that maybe if that's something you're still really interested in, I don't know how interested you are in it still, but maybe there are still ways of, because I don't know if studios can afford, unfortunately, to be as generous as maybe they'd like to be. And I've not owned a studio, but
I agree with what you're
assuming
saying.
that there's a lot of pressure to make that rent. And if you can't make it, you're screwed. So that's just speaking from someone that I've not been in that position, but that would be my like advice in terms of the best case I could see it as.
Yeah, we I think that's great to have that conversation, is that to clarify as well. Thank you for your insights and your wisdom. And that's why I wanted to open up that part of the conversation for people that are emerging into our community now and that are wondering, where, if they find themselves in a position like I might have once been in, which I don't desire to be in any longer. Hence, I'm not interested in that.
Totally.
Like with the moment that I actually, so quote unquote, rolled up my mat for the public, I felt free. I felt free, and like I got a Kaiser at home. I do my own spin classes myself that are more kind of like soul energy, but traditional minded. So I kind of blend both together. I do my own yoga stuff on my mat, and that's my own practice.
I love that.
Like to clarify that as we start to wrap, is that I think it's great to empower people who might be listening or watching this video, this interview, if they find themselves in a similar place of true voice and service, and they're willing to be brave enough, to be courageous enough to put themselves into the industry out of the pandemic now. What are those people that are maybe now following my footsteps, your footsteps, Rachel's footsteps, that would try to pave the way and did make an impact? And maybe who are the next followers that actually might be able to impact your voice in a way that we might have done a little bit, but maybe it wasn't the right timing. So I think this is going to be a great takeaway for those next generations of teachers and leaders in whatever form of public speaking, teaching a format of a kind of class, or even passing down a lineage. That valuable information is going to go very far for those that choose to connect with the three of us in this format. And I want to thank you for giving your time and your energy for that too. It's really important.
Oh, thank you guys. I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to chat with you both.
Absolutely. Is there anything that you'd like to leave on a closing note with those that might be tuning in, whether if they might know of you already or know you well or not know you at all, social media or things that are up and coming that you want to plug? Feel welcome to leave that there if you like.
Well, I definitely am going to be having some next steps happen really soon. I would say that those will be kind of coming into light within, hopefully by the summer. So I guess not to sound cheesy, but stay tuned. And that would be kind of where I would leave it at. I hope that you enjoyed listening to this today. I really enjoyed getting the chance to speak with you guys, and I'm very proud of you for starting something. And just know that there's nothing wrong with leaving something that you once really loved and still have love for. That means that you've really grown. If you can leave something without being resentful that it didn't work out the way you thought it would, but it's working out the way it should. That's like real growth. Like I've had lots of careers, and I'm sure there's going to be many more shifts in my life. And I think it's important to be grateful for the amazing times that you had, not be resentful that it didn't work out, even though it's really easy to, because sometimes it can really piss us off. It didn't work out the way we hoped it would, but trust that it's unfolding as it should. Even though it may seem really cloudy at that time, it is unfolding as it should. Those stars are going to align. The path is going to be revealed. You got to put trust into it. And I know that can be the toughest when it's like dark or feels really stormy in your life, but it's the absolute truth that it is going to unfold as it should.
That is beautifully said. Beautifully said. Thank you.
Love it. Love it. And the last thing I want to ask, sometimes we ask a juicy question when it feels organic, and I have one for you. And I'm curious to ask you.
I haven't done that in a while.
No,
I just realized.
If in the context of a spin environment, what's juicier to you, a sprint or a climb?
Oh, well, I am very much a fast girl. I like to go very fast on the bike. That's my my happy place. So then I would say what feels juicier is definitely a hill, because I love going fast. That feels very like almost effortless for me. So when I get inside a really good hill, that's where the real juice kicks in. Plus, that's where you're going to make the most changes. Resistance is where change happens. The other stuff is stuff on top. But if you're not riding with resistance, then you're not really changing your sort of like state of being. You're just sort of on top. It's like when you're dancing and you're dancing on top of the music versus being in the pocket of the music. And sometimes we can do that. We just like kind of get outside of our body and lose control. It's like a hill will really ground you, particularly when you're turning the shit up.
It's true. I'd always say to my students, please, first and foremost, so I keep my insurance, keep my job, please turn your damn resistance up so your patellas don't hit me in the face. Because one, I need to look pretty to talk to you. And also I need you to keep coming back to class.
Yes. Right? Like don't destroy that body without having resistance on it. 100%.
No.
That is a life lesson though. Resistance is where the change happens. So let's like, not even on the bike, it's in life. So let's keep that in mind. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys. Really appreciate it. It was lovely to chat with both of you. Good. Congratulations on your amazing podcast. Hope you're very proud of what you started. It's really awesome that you're doing this. You're making just as much of an impact. There's many ways to be an impact player. It does not just have to be a conventional way. There's many ways of being an impact player.
100%.
Thank you.
Thanks,
have a
Daniela.
wonderful rest of your night. And then we'll make sure to put all your information in the show notes. And when it's out, share it and love it and provide it to everyone out there. Mwah.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Juicy